Hey everyone, hello creatives and community and kind folks out there. Um, I'm a little giddy today, and I have a feeling I can blame my giddiness on you guys. Somebody out there, unless it's just an extremely weird coincidence, which I doubt. Um, but for some reason, after speaking up His Majesty Sir Isaac Arthur, here one of a number of us living in Ohio. He's up north. I'm Central Ohio. Apparently decided to move out of his busy schedule and make a comment on one of my videos, and we kind of befriended each other on Facebook. I don't know how that happened. I think it's one of you guys that did it. I think somebody put a bug in his ear and sent him a message or two, and put me on his radar, which I'm actually surprised that he had took the opportunity to even bother even watching one of my videos, let alone make some kind of comments or something on it. So I really appreciate that. Don't know how that happened, but I really appreciate it, and it's a little humble brag, you know what I mean? So I it's just a personal thing. Okay, today is Thursday. We're almost done blow off week. We're just talking about anything and everything that that kind of makes us mad, pisses us off, gets under our skin, things that we don't understand in the RPG community, whether it's like rules or social conduct or players or GMs and all that kind of stuff. And there's always excellent comments in the comment section from Joseph Keenan and Ketoic. I hope I'm pronouncing the name right, but anyway, they have some really good comments in there as well. So I really appreciate that, and I'm just doing a little preamble, let people get linked on in if they wish to participate. But Saturday, I'm doing a panel. It'll just be me, but going deep diving into what the third pillar of gaming is. What is exploration? Titled Cinematic Environments. Of course, that's the title of the book series that I'm writing with Critical Hit Publishing. We're not done with that yet. I'm always writing something. And lastly, that soon you will see in the feed that there will be the much shorter videos, 5 to 10 minutes, no more, called Verbal Component, and they will be along the same series that I do on a daily basis, whether it's like a Monster Mondays or Third Pillar Thursdays or something, but they will be shorter and just little hints and tricks and comments and questions and things like that, just to get a little bit more exposure for the channel and to express myself a little bit without doing it long form. But this long form live chats won't go away. So Alex C, good morning / evening. Yes. And hello everyone out there in the weird shifting around daylight savings time. We don't know what time it is yet because we think it's supposed to help out society kind of stuff. Just bizarre. But yeah, I wanted to read off to start off by reading off some comments, because I think they have a lot to do with what we've been talking about all week, and just wanted to just kind of read off of that. I remember. Oh wow, where? Don't tell me I missed it. There we go. Okay. Ketotic says, talks about us having a conversation. He says another great discussion, and he says talking about hard to understand antics. I think maybe RPGs are like a Rorschach test. You look at the ink blot, and the interviewer asks, "What do you make of this?" And because the blot does not actually mean anything, whatever you make up comes right out of the unconscious mind, such as that looks like two kissing fish, or that looks like two men fighting. The response says more about you than the ink stain. That kind of test is called a projective test in psychology, and RPGs are sort of similar. RPGs are ambiguous enough and allow such a broad freedom of action that a person ends up projecting their own psychology into the game. it would explain a lot of the weird stuff that that can come out: repressed thoughts and impulses, immature desires, unacceptable fantasies. It seems like a degree of maturity is required to be aware of it and resist the urge to give into that sort of thing. I always thought GTA, a Grand Theft Auto was so popular because it let people riff on all the otherwise unacceptable thoughts and urges that are buried in all of us. But hey, it's different if you're at a table full of people who are there to play a cooperative game. And I cannot agree more. There's just something about knowing the farmers. Yeah, Deadman Storyteller. Yeah, there's a comment about that too. Yeah, this idea that that we use role-playing games to like it's before the Purge movies came out, the Purge Anarchy, the Purge Election Day, 12 hours of lawlessness, and murder is absolutely legal, that kind of thing. Role-playing games are a time for us to purge who we are, and I believe sometimes people want to play the role-playing games and they're passionate and they desire to play it without themselves knowing that they're purging themselves. Yeah, I'm not sure where everyone's at. We've got a couple of viewers down there. I'm sure people are on their phones, maybe, or they have it playing in the background. I'm quite sure, but just because it's such a long form that people are listening rather than participating. But also, I'm not I'm not particularly that interesting. Deadman the Storyteller. It's all about me. It's worse when me is DMPC. Yeah, it's the DM that wants to play the game. It's like, oh, okay, I know your expert character has complete plot immunity +5, walking around with all the answers and never falling into into anything. Azala, hey, what's going on? Yeah, look, I get it, right? A DMPC can be an accident where there's this instinct or a fallacy that we have to have a healer. I need to give my players a healer, or I need to insert an NPC to guide the players through my game or something, right? So the henchman / healer / guide or whatever gets popped into the game, and it starts out as like, this character's just there to help out. That's all it is. So they go from, so if the healer joins the game, what happens if the healer falls into a pit or gets bit by a poisonous snake, or suffers heat exhaustion, or turns to stone? Well, we can't have that. So now they've got to have increasing levels of plot armor so they don't get hurt. And then all of a sudden they seem to avoid all the dangers, and then they start gathering greater skills. Oh, there's no one to pick locks. I'll have the healer pick locks. And oh, they don't have a frontline fighter because the fighter went down. I'll have the healer also be a frontline fighter. And you know what? I'll have them even know about the big baddies plot. And then all of a sudden they start gaining all of these these skills, and they start becoming a Mary Sue. And eventually it's just like, it's your character. I know it's the DM's character. Really? Deadman Storyteller, link will come later in the Discord. Yeah, which is weird because I put the link in the Discord and I'm like, why is anyone who's not involved in what we're doing want to jump into our stuff? I'm not quite sure about that. As I was, we're talking about me today. How great. Talk about me all day. Yeah. Yeah. Alex, he says, till the DM gets bored of the DMPC and makes it bullet chow or boulet chow. As I believe one of the creators of Dungeons and Dragons called it boulet. Yeah, land sharks, man. There'll always be land sharks to me. Yeah, Foolish Kiwi says, yeah, and the DMPC can often take too much of the challenge and steal the spotlight, which is exactly what happens, right? They eventually they start gaining like skill +10 and everything because they have to help air quotes the PCs around obstacles till you know, the big bad never focuses on the DMPC, and the traps never spring on a DMPC, and the DMPC never eats the poison fruits, and they never get turned to stone, and they never get teleported away or trapped behind a wall of force, or, you know, hypnotized or any of those things, because that, you know, the DM is like rationalizing, well, that's what the players are supposed to fight against, not my, you know, my PC, which is weird. RP Gamer says, I love playing the NPCs. It gives awesome diversity to the roles in playing, which is the thing, right? As game aficionados, right? We don't have to have a limit of NPCs. Like that's the beauty of being the DM or the GM. You don't have to run out of them. You don't need to make one special one. You've got 30 you can play. So what, one dies or gets an arrow in the eye or a bullet in the back of the head or falls down into a pit or whatever, doesn't matter. You make up another one, play another one, you know? Azal says, it's fun when you reverse the trope with the DMPC, make it seem like one, then it just dies immediately for that, like, oh shit moment. Exactly. You know, that's when you put the fear into the players, where the players think you value this NPC, and then they pop off and die, and they're just like, whoa, he's willing to kill off one of his best NPCs. Oh man, maybe we're next. You know what I mean? Yeah, RP said, Gamer says, never play a DMPC. Too much trouble in the long run. I absolutely agree. Yeah, it's wow. It's really wow. Where is this thing? Joseph Keenan wrote a comment to one of the videos. He says, Isaac talks about Isaac Arthur making a comment. So Isaac Arthur, good stuff there. And he says, but talks about time changing. And it says world time without daylight savings time. Oh man, I just heard every redneck in Northeast Ohio shout out that there is one world government commie plot, which is funny. But he says daylight saving time was good when we were burning coal and whale oil, but we've come a long way. Something like 25% greater risk of heart attacks in a week or two following the time change. I don't know if that statistic is true, but I can pretty much agree that that's probably the case. I think auto accidents too, and people putting in less work. There's less effort at work. I believe that's a problem as well. It's crazy, but yeah. Yeah, Alex C says, you're practically a god. You can create more. Of course, you can create more NPCs. Just make another one. It's whatever. They're a dime a dozen, right? Yeah, I mean, sure. You wrote a bunch of notes for your NPCs, and you're afraid for them to die off. But then don't put that much effort into it, right? 3 lines and a 3x5 card, you're done. The rest of it is just all gravy. You know what I mean? RP Gamer says, I agree, Azal. It's good for showing how powerful a creature is. Of course. And that's where the red shirt, you know, Star Trek red shirt thing comes from, right? Red shirt dies, crew is just like, oh, what's going on? And of course, the red shirt, you know, their brain explodes. They fall into acid. They get shrunk down to the size of a small mouse. It's whatever. The red shirt gets killed to display the theoretical threat that's facing them, and then the rest of the crew can go onto it. And of course, it's always an unnamed red shirt that joins the crew on the flight deck or something, right? The red shirt joins the away team. Yeah, the red shirt's going to get it. So, but there's a reason for it. It is a descriptive trope to have the unnamed person take the hit. The unnamed television shows, movies, they all do it. The unnamed person gets shot by a sniper. Now we all know there's a sniper. You know, the hero doesn't get shot by the sniper. It's always an innocent, you know. The red shirt dies from an overdose. The red shirt has the alien burst out of their chest. You know, the alien gets hypnotized and turns on the group. You know, it's always that way. And yeah, lesson learned, never put on the red shirt. Exactly. Oh man, Foolish Kiwi says, I feel a lot of people make DMPCs by accident when they're just trying to make a good lore, a rich character, and then get too attached. I absolutely agree with it. I mean, sure, there's some people out there that purposefully are like, I'm going to put my own character in so I can get some of the treasure, but really, I think it really starts out as an accident. It's they start out as a minor character, barely fleshed out, and then they get attached to him, and eventually it gets to the point where where the GM really does, the DM gets attached to their personality and their goals. Sometimes it can even go even further where they get attached to the big bad or some of the big bad's lieutenants. Let's say someone, the DM puts in a pit fiend and they get attached to the pit fiend, and they have this huge plot where the pit fiend is behind the scenes, and then all of a sudden one of the player characters pulls, some kind of like rabbit out of their ass, and it's like, hey, we're going to kill the pit fiend. And then the DM is like, oh no, I love my pit fiend. So they come up with all kinds of weird and bizarre but rule breaky genre trope, manipulating ways for the pit fiend to get out of every situation, and it just turns bad. It's the bad guy teleports away at the last minute kind of bad. Tesla Ranger says, a fun fact, more gold shirts died than red shirts on Star Trek. Well, I didn't know that. I never knew that. So that means we're prejudiced against the red shirts, even though the gold shirts, or we are inadvertently protecting more red shirts than gold shirts. Oh man. Yeah, she was a yellow shirt. Yeah, I hadn't even put that fact together, but that is funny though. Yeah. Oh man, you guys. Yeah. Oh, RP Gamer says the NPC can become just as beloved and important as a PC simply because the players get attached, and it's, let's bring this guy with us, or let's see such and such, and it makes a great story. Yeah, especially when they die. But solid. But that is true, right? Sometimes we create NPCs, we don't know whether which NPC is going to become attached to the players. Sometimes the players just become attached to the old grandma that starts making pastries, right? And you never had any intention of that happening. You just put her in there. You're like, there's a blacksmith, there's the wizard's tower, and I don't know, there's a tavern, and there's a place that makes pastries, and all of a sudden the pastry maker becomes the NPC that everyone attaches to, and they want to bring this person along with them. And so you as the DM or the GM is like, well, okay, this person's going to come along. So you give them some extra skills, give them some more importance. They start to learn. You start passing knowledge through the NPC, and then they become a linchpin. They always turn to the NPC. They turn to the NPC when they need a map. They turn to the NPC when they need another plot hook. They turn to the NPC when they have to figure out what's written on the walls and all that kind of stuff. And it just becomes a really strange, bizarre outgrowth that wasn't planned. And then that's when you kill them. Now, of course, you don't need to. For some reason, we always default to killing things to eliminate a threat or a problem, and that doesn't always need to be a thing, right? NPCs they can have lives. They can raise up in rank in the military. They can settle down and start a business. They can suffer a debilitating disease and they don't want to go adventuring anymore. They can lose their voice. They can have a child. They can get married. They can lose a limb and completely retire. They can have a head injury and gain amnesia or something. Like there's a million and one other things that can happen to people that pull them out of the action without them having to die. Yeah, something new to the casual, mundane places, especially when they are when there's an NPC that just really, and you never know what sticks out in people's minds. Sometimes it's just a thing, the squire that the paladin pulls under their wing, and they want to train them. And now you're thinking, oh, now they're going to take the squire along with them. I believe there's even a background. Is it the noble background? I believe where the character automatically has a number of like there's a retinue. It's like there's a group of people following them around, like valet service, and some of them can become important NPCs as well. In the non-combat sense of the word. Yeah, that can happen very much as well. Um, yeah, and to read a comment by Sir Sir Isaac Arthur. Why am I calling Sir Isaac Arthur? I don't know why that fits, but it's like being knighted or something. Yesterday we were talking about like perception rolls and checking for traps and checking for treasure and the old OSR, no roll, you just have to tell me what you're doing, to the modern day, I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to make these, a ton of perception rolls. He says, I usually circumvent the whole minor items in gear or constant search checks for traps by giving players a retcon roll against their intelligence or wisdom, sometimes a synergy with a relevant skill. For example, the fighter with lots of survival ranks is unlikely to have forgotten to have flints and steel, even if the player forgot to buy them, or so they get an intelligence check to see if they did bring it, or the rogue being unlikely to just open a door without checking it, so they get a wisdom roll to see if their character would have. Cuts down on a lot of character creation time or extraneous rolls. There's still a risk to encourage thoroughness, but it's less pressing and leaves focus for role playing. I absolutely do this. I think a lot of GMs do this without thinking about it, but it's the idea. I think this is a problem with retainers. You guys are talking about retainers. I think this is a huge problem with game masters that don't also portray the players as having a relevant level of expertise, right? There's oh yeah, you guys are talking about retainers and backlash and all that kind of stuff. Foolish Kiwi says, well, poor Baker, man, he just wanted to show the party where the boss's secret treasure was and his abundant knowledge and vast array of maps. You know what, that's exactly how it happens. The DMPC all of a sudden is just like why are they like 15th level in knowledge of things that they really shouldn't have any knowledge of? I believe it's the noble background where you get 3 retainers. Yeah. RP Gamer says the backlash you get if the death of an NPC is too mundane. The baker suffered a heart attack while they were born is immense. Deadman the Storyteller says AD&D 2nd edition had a benefit for the fighter class where they gained a small army at level 10. And Alexi said, I thought it was 9th. That's to keep it 9th. As a matter of fact, that was dropped out of the game as well. Most of the basic 4 level characters, fighter, cleric, rogue, wizard. It wasn't rogue then, it was thief. But anyway, the 4 main classes, if I'm not mistaken, at level 9th or 10th were expected to kind of settle down. The fighter would make a keep, the wizard would make a castle, the wizard would construct a temple, the thief would create a thieves guild, and then they had tables where you could roll on the kind of retainers that you would acquire for your when you settled down. So the fighter could roll and they would get so many people for their keep, and they had a couple of rules in the DMG for how much it cost to build a keep. Yeah, it was like your retirement plan. This thing of like adventuring to level 20 wasn't it was a hint that by the time you got to level 9, you weren't adventuring in the classic sense. Although the game didn't really have much more for you to do. You always had to go to like third-party stuff to find the things to do. But yeah, there was a that was very much a part of 2nd edition where you had retainers, and you would build a castle, and I presume have treaties with allies on the borders of the countryside and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Yeah, Alex C says you had followers. Followers. They weren't retainers. They were known as followers by certain levels. And your charisma stat gave you a rating on how many retainers or henchmen or followers you could not control, but coordinate. You could gather together. You could herd together like cats. You know, whatever. You had a charisma of 15, you could herd together 12 retainers or something like that. I don't have my second edition books any longer, but yeah, it was something to that effect in there. Yeah, it turns from adventuring to the city builder, which was fine, except they didn't really have many examples of what to do as a city builder. So there were many third-party things that came out. Matt Colville talks about one of those, and of course with his Strongholds and Followers book that he raised, millions of dollars for. I believe he's trying to go back to that old school style. So that's kind of cool. Foolish Kiwi said they kept followers in 3.5. You just have to take a feat. Yeah. RP Gamer says you were seen as upper level heroes, only responding to the bigger world threatening creatures. Yeah, I played many games where my own players retired. One of them retired to the old classic adventure Isle of Dread. Had an intelligent sword he kept outside, so the sword could watch for dangers and stuff. It was kind of cool. Yeah, and there was the idea that you would settle down. I get why players want to adventure as 20th level characters, but by the time you're hitting 15th, 17th level, 20th level, and beyond, you're more like superheroes than you are adventurers, right? You're, a barbarian. Depending on what kind of barbarian you pick, you can fly through the air. Depending on what kind of rogue you pick, like you can basically teleport and turn invisible at will and things like that. It's not really, you're not an adventurer anymore. You're pretty much playing a superhero. Alex C says the feat practically gives it to you. You don't feel earned. That happens to be a problem with a lot of game system mechanics that's trying to cover for or implement a type of feel in the game that some things are given to players. It's not earned. I feel like 5th edition does that with so much readily the ability to heal and cover things that should be survivalist. That's just me. Create food and water, create water, Liamon's tiny hut for, Tensor's floating disc, or actually just plain old floating disc now. Mage hand, anything that just allows you to like circumvent problems and issues with an easy button, which is what I call an easy button. It doesn't feel like it's earned. It's like, I've got Goodberry. No need to go traveling in the woods and actually feel like we're struggling. I just have this thing that I can do, which allows me to, travel anywhere in the world very easily, especially at very low levels. I get it. If you're a 7th level, 10th level character, you will have things that you can very easily circumvent. I can breathe underwater. I can fly through the air. I can, instantly heal my party. But when you're like 3rd level and you're doing that all the time, I feel like it's not really earned. It feels like, to me, it feels like as a game master or dungeon master, you end up being put in a position where you're saying no more than yes, and you are taking away abilities from your players, which is where, you nerf my character comes from, as opposed to having players earn their way to having those special traits, earning the ability to survive in the wilderness very easily, earning to get to that point. Foolish Kiwi says, I suppose we kind of flavor it. If you take it, you have to write the character and hiring them, paying them is negotiated in character, or if you take an oath, mechanics are just the numbers, which I absolutely agree, right? It's just role playing. You don't have to, there's nothing stopping you from role playing those parts of the character. And especially if you are a, if you're a good player, you'll absolutely want to role play those things. You know, those the loyal followers and stuff. You can't, you know, beat them in the head and treat them like like the proverbial redhead stepchild, and then expect them not to turn on you. Right? It everything in the game is a role playing feature. Armor class is a role playing feature. Hit points are a role playing feature. There's nothing. There's no reason to, and no reason to stop role playing just because there's a feat written on your character or you made a particularly high roll. Zala says, I really dislike those quality of life mages. Blast some stuff, damn it. Yeah. Alex, he said, good berries, huh? If a party member annoys my druid or ranger, I just reskin it. Dingleberry. Go ahead and eat this. It's got hair on it. Oh, man. Oh, yeah. As also says, yeah, you know, it says, quote, there's a spell for that. Yeah, I know. Listen, I get that. Particularly this edition of Dungeons and Dragons, 5th edition is geared towards the cinematic high level, right? We don't think about the player, the characters going to the bathroom or you know, getting dysentery and all that kind of stuff. That's not really what the game is about. The game is about challenging, you know, the big bad in their havens and taking down evil and stuff. That's what it's about. It's not about the survival antics of it. And like Isaac Arthur's comment, for me, I think sometimes that became our fault as game masters by not giving players the benefit of the doubt when it comes to certain things. Things to you. Deadman the Storyteller says, yeah, it'll put hair on your chest. Yeah, I've got hair in my teeth and it smells funny. What is that? Is that crotch sweat in that? What the hell? Yeah. Oh man. Oh, you know what? I have an extremely old video. It's really bad quality, whatnot. I left it up, but I once talked about reskinning, because I love to reskin things, and I was talking about reskinning potions, healing potions, right? You in your setting, you don't have to have the atypical pink or golden sweet tasting fluid that is a healing potion. Like, you can come up with all kinds of flavored setting cultural things for a healing potion. A healing potion could be a salve that you have to rub onto the wound. It could be something you drink. It could be a tea. It could be incense. And it could even be the old hag that like chews up the really nasty stuff that's like bat guano and like spit, and then like chews it in her mouth like tobacco or something like that, and spits it on the wound and wraps it in like old leaves or something like that. That could really like turn your players against it. Like, I don't want her spitting on my wounds, you know, even though, you know, you're going to get like 3d8 healing from it, plus 3d8 plus 5 healing. What? Why not? You don't want this old lady like spitting some old brown, you know, paste onto your wound and wrapping it in leaves. What's wrong with that? You know, and I think you could really have, even though we're being silly about it, reskinning things to make them undesirable is actually a really good idea, right? Why not have the land sharks, the bullets, the purple worm? Why wouldn't the treasure be in the guano, right? Why wouldn't it be in their crap that they like shat out? The creatures don't. A purple worm doesn't save a magic sword, but it sure might shit it out the back end and leave it in a, you know, sticking out of a 6-foot pile of of feces. You know what I mean? Yeah. Alex, he says the personal hygiene is off screen type of stuff. Hey, we met a game to go into the bathroom. How many characters You know, how many times has the paladin been attacked while they're crouching down, pulling down the little flap on their silvered shiny armor? You know, very very rarely do they get bitten in the ass by a rattlesnake while they've got the little pull the screws out, pop the hatch down, squat. You know, that doesn't happen. Azala says we kind of disregard going to the bathroom unless the GM enjoys toilet humor, which is me, hand raised. Then no game goes by without someone having violent diarrhea. Yeah, Alex he says every once in a while, in a great while, my DM does the sanitary thing. Yeah, I even included in one of our cinematic environs, like getting the explosive diarrhea, eating the wrong thing, getting explosive diarrhea. Sometimes you have to add in a little bit of humor just to alleviate things, especially if you have a very heavy or hard, emotionally draining kind of adventuring thing. So yeah, sometimes you got to do that. Deadman the storyteller says the Borderlands does that. Do you mean Keep on the Borderlands or Borderlands the video game? I didn't know Keep on the Borderlands had that. If you're talking about the adventure module. Foolish Kiwi says the party has been stuck in a dungeon for 2 days and the rations are catching up. Everyone pick and earn. Yeah. Oh man, the cleric's like, let me smell your urine again. It's I think there's something wrong here. Medicine check. Yeah. Oh man. Oh, Alex, he said how often they mess their tabard. Yeah, my tabard's bright red in the front and chocolate brown in the back. All right. Scatological humor again. Yeah, man. Azala said had a dragonborn with a fire breath attack. Chase scene on a cart. He had diarrhea, so he pulled down his pants, aimed, and used the fire breath on the pursuers. Oh man, that's awesome. Hey, you know what? We don't do chases that often. Azala, that's man, I'm gonna have to do videos on that too. Just the whole idea of having a chase. I know they're difficult to do with miniatures. They're hard to do with theater of the mind, but there has to be a medium. Without chases, I think we're losing something in our role-playing games. I know we talk about social interactions and exploration, but the chase itself is just that one little thing, is that subsection of like the combat / exploration of gaming. I think we lose, and there are a number of games that have chase rules. Pathfinder has a good system for it. The DMG has chase rules in there for 5th edition. Maybe we'll have to revisit chases and really bring it like deep dive into it and bring it up to the forefront, let it float on the top, because I have a feeling that it's been pushed down from like, instead of a top 1 or 2, it's like number 8 or 9 on the top things people want to involve themselves in. And yeah, I think we really should bring that back into vogue. Yeah, Foolish Kiwi says chases are awesome, easier to do online than in real life map wise though. You know what? Yeah, doing it on a map is hard because of like speeds and obstacles and tight turns and leaping over things and jumping from a cart onto a horse or back and forth and all that kind of business, ducking under tree branches and riding a horse and jumping over a chasm or something, or what have you. In modern day, like riding in a vehicle over a rickety old bridge, or riding in a sports car and taking your pistol or shotgun and firing out the window or something like that, or jumping onto a speeding bus that's careening out of control or what have you. Riding in the wagon and punching people in the face inside the wagon, or covered wagon, and riding on top of it and shooting your 6-shooters or something, or jumping onto the horses to keep them from wanting to run and fall off of a cliff, which I never understood. Like, why would a animal willingly like run and push themselves off a cliff? I know they're panicked and all that kind of stuff, but that seems to be a trope. But the trope is cool, right? It's the Indiana Jones. I'm being dragged behind because I've got my whip attached underneath the carriage and I'm being dragged on the ground and I'm going to climb my way back up, or Mad Max getting shot at. He's holding on to the front grill of the vehicle, and then he gets dragged underneath, and the person's got to like use their hands to like have themselves dragged, but they're moving backwards under the vehicle or something. All those kind of things. Yeah. Yeah, make a check when you make a sharp turn or you lose 5 feet of movement. Absolutely. Hell, shit, dude, you can make a ton of random things you can encounter in a chase kind of thing. As Al says, I've got some dungeon tiles, a lot of them, so you can use those randomly during the chase. Every turn is a new tile. Absolutely, hell yeah. And that's where you, yes, it's breaking the rules. That's where you kind of ignore combat rounds, and it's kind of like combat interactions, right? Deadman Storytellers, the Shadowrun has always had that mechanic. Yeah, but how many times have we used it? I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm actually doubling down on what you're saying. I think you're right. Shadowrun has always had a mechanic for that. 5th edition has a mechanic for that. Pathfinder has one. If I'm not mistaken, well, anyway, a ton of games have those mechanics. Time for the link. I see. Here we go again. Yeah, I mean, just the fact that we have rules, but I think maybe there's a fear of using them, or the simple fact that we haven't used them, so there might be a fear that somebody will do it wrong, or there are very few examples of people doing it at all. And because there's very few examples, I have a feeling that sometimes there's a fear that, man, if I use this thing, how's it going to work? My players haven't done it. I haven't done it. So I think it's just new. It just hasn't really been used a lot. Yeah. The link's up, guys. I know that the Discord brings in some people who may or may not be involved in what we're doing, but whatever, you know.
And I'm already here.
Hey, what's going on there? Hello?
Hello.
Oh, okay. You can hear me.
Yeah.
I thought my earphones got pulled out. Hey, what's going on, Azala?
Not much. Oh, and we've got Kiwi here.
Hey guys.
Hi.
Hey, what's up?
Nothing much. I was worried. I didn't have a Google Chrome. I had to download it, and Mozilla didn't let you hang out.
Oh, okay. Yeah, good to hear some voices and see some faces attached to the people that are part and parcel. Hell, dude, when I started this weeks and weeks ago, man, I was like, man, 6 a.m. in the morning. God, no one's gonna be involved in any of this. So I really appreciate you guys just like jumping in and being involved and stuff. Yeah, just blowing off steam. Although we have, as usual, we've kind of moved on to, like, you know, chase mechanics and that kind of thing. But whatever, it's chaos here.
Well, I think the reason nobody really does chase mechanics is because they're pretty complicated as far as the actual base game tends to go.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe it's just using a different muscle, you know, or sometimes mentally just using a different muscle. Sometimes when we see games that have mechanics we're not used to, we automatically default to it's too hard, it's too complicated, it's going to slow things down. But I think once you get used to it, it's not a big deal. It's just like us as kids tying our shoelace. When you first learn, it's like this complicated like process. Like, what the hell? And you're supposed to be able to pull it apart, and it turned into a knot. What the hell am I doing? And then when you get old enough, we don't think about what we're doing any longer. So I think chase mechanics can be like that. I'm not saying they're perfect mechanics, because I'll readily admit I don't use them often, but I think if they were used more often, we would all get so used to it, it would just be just another thing.
Well, it is kind of that thing of, it's like, well, how often am I going to do this? And now I've just got to learn this whole new kind of combat mechanic, and I just don't want to do it. So no chasings.
Yeah.
And you can always try to find a way to improvise around it. Like there's it wasn't actually me. I had a friend that did a good way to get around it, and that's kind of having an in-between map. It's not like a zoomed-in combat grid, but it's not just theater of mind. You're kind of zoomed out like a city-sized chunk, and just have 2 dots on the map, and you guys are making checks, and oh no, there's a log coming, roll a check to jump over, and if you make it quick, then you scoot your dot up, and it kind of keeps that energy.
Exactly. And hell, I mean, a lot of it is really just us reskinning what we're already doing, right? I mean, if I just an example, if we're going to have the characters fight creatures, if you just delete one of the creatures and add in a obstacle, like you said, Azala, you have to make a sharp turn or lose some movement, or you have to, I don't know, a crowd is in the street and you guys, you're racing on carts and horses and you have to make a roll to dodge through the crowd or something, or you're in the woods and you're riding on your horse and you have to duck, or you're going to get hit in the head by a tree branch or something. A simple skill roll, saving throw, dex check or something, I think is easy enough to get it across. And especially like you were saying, Kiwi, like if we add in the imperative that you better do this or else, and I'm talking like at the table, or even online, like, all right, hurry up and make a roll, or you're going to get, knocked in the head, then I think, just real quick, even Mike Gould in the chat says he might try to make a mechanic. He talks about like a deck of cards is a possibility of using that. That's a possible thing as well. You could do like make a series of possible things and have maybe one of the players roll randomly, like what might come next. So it's always a surprise for the game master and you, whether it's sharp turns or crevices or piles of boxes or the classic pane of glass that gets shattered or something, or what have you. Yeah.
And another good way to flavor it is it's not always a big thing chasing you. So, for example, our chase was a swarm of just millions of spiders through the woods, and every time a little cluster of spiders would catch up and jump on you. And that's also one of those moments that really makes the 20 gold difference shine between buying the donkey and the horse to pull the cart.
Yeah. And then you have an excuse to use like some of those skills that aren't really used very often. Your animal handling, your nature and survival skills, those kind of things, and you could have some of those characters shine a little bit more. Where there's, like you said, you're getting chased by spiders, and Mike Gould kind of brings up a little bit of a thing where you could have a chase where you're trying to achieve a goal, right? So it could be 3 successful animal handling checks because everyone's like riding on dinosaurs or something, and they're going through the jungle and they're being chased by those giant spiders, swarms of spiders or something. And it could be you've got to make 3 successful animal handling checks, and each time you fail, that brings them that much closer to you or something. Or you're trying to get to the bridge before the enemy, and the first person to get 5 checks gets there first. It could even be the classic 2 people fighting, fisticuffs and wrestling, and there's a pistol sliding across the wet floor or something, and both of you are trying to reach for the gun. The person who gets the highest roll gets there first to grab the gun to blow the other person away, John Wick style or something like that, right? Yeah, so I think not that we can't use chase mechanics, but even if you don't have special rules for it, I think there's a way to do it without really hurting your brain too much.
The big key is just making your players feel that, oh God, urgency, we gotta go.
Yeah, absolutely. Now there are chase mechanics, kind of like hacking rules in like Shadowrun or Cyberpunk, where it almost feels like it's a whole different game.
It is a whole different game.
Yeah, and I'm not really a fan of that, even though even though it might make sense realistically, it's like, you know, when you're at the table, sometimes those things really don't work. Mike Gould says essentially a reskin of the death save mechanic. That makes see. I did that with the cinematic environments books I've been writing, where you've got you get your it's the 3 rolls, live or die kind of thing, right? But instead of living or dying, it's like the 3 rolls to get to where you need to be. And that's really great for, you know, rooftop running and getting away from guards, or getting across the rickety old rope bridge, or hell, even navigating your way through a crowd of pedestrians before they start screaming for the town guard or something like that. And hell, you could even use charisma-based skill checks to push through people without offending them, kind of thing. You know, persuasion checks to run through, and then to run through the crowd, and then
like a crowd control kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. It could be think of Assassin's Creed, right? The assassins are trying to there's a you know, all the video games have their little promo videos, and there's one, I think it's like Assassin's Creed 2, where the assassins are trying to maneuver their way through the crowd to get to one of their own that's about to be executed. And it's the push through the crowd without the crowd screaming, "Hey, this guy needs to be arrested," kind of thing. You know, you could have fun with that, where the bard gets to move through the crowd, but even though the barbarian could flick people over their shoulders, they're drawing too much attention. But the bard is like, "Hi there, excuse me, pardon. Oh, you look good." You know, slip, and then gets out of there. Where the city guard's like, "Where are they at? What's going on?" And you know,
you can see that in books and stories and stuff, where it's like that one person just slipping through the crowd, where the other person trying to follow is just lost and can't get through the herd, kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe, you know, it's, I know we kind of got away from our subject about letting off steam and whatnot, but it could be, I mean, in a strange way, it could be that maybe this is something that we kind of don't get a chance to engage in. You know what I mean?
I know I'd like a lot more chase things.
Yeah, and maybe that might just be something like, man, because I'm you guys know I'm a big proponent of, like, let's just not have a fight on a flat plane. Like, let's have other crap going on. You know, things. You know, have a fight in a warehouse, fight on a storm-tossed ship, fights on rooftops, fights in sewer systems. You know, fights in thick wooded areas or something, you know, in a downpour, in the snow. Like, I love having those things. So maybe this is just one more thing we could add, and some players might desire that, but they don't know it. You know, it's like unconscious, like, man, there's something missing with this. And the game master's like, man, there's something missing. I don't know what's going on here. You know, and so that could be used for that.
And a good way to, oh, sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, in the ending adventure of Deadlands Hell on Earth, there's a scene where you have to fight while running through a sewer. And it's like, do this whole, like, running fight kind of sequence, which is pretty cool.
Yep. And definitely in a chase, you can have alternate win conditions, right? It's not about you killing the other person. It could be you're in the sewer and they're going to drop a metal grate is about to block you and trap you in the sewer. So do you want to sit and fight, or do you want to get the hell out of there and drop the grate and trap the bad guys behind you? You know what I mean? Or the sewer system's flooding. Do you want to sit? Sure, the barbarian can sit and kill everything, but that's not getting you out of the sewer before you drowned idea. You know, it could be having a chase to get out of the city before the guard shuts the walls down and traps you inside, or
outrunning the dust storm before it, like, gets on you. Like, gotta get to shelter quick.
Yep, the Mad Max Fury Road. Get
Yeah.
the hell out of this, get the hell out of that. The dust storm before it kills us all. And yeah, we're fighting, but I need to get the hell out of here. So alternate win conditions are also thing to put in a chase too. I, I did a chase by accident when I was a teenager and had goblins steal the treasure while all the good guys and the bad guys were fighting, and it just turned into this thing where everyone's chasing these goblins around town and through different adventures, and it became this running joke where these goblins were like stealing things, and it could be everyone's chasing the treasure, the good guys and the bad guys. Like, hey, there's the wagon, it's getting away. Let's go after it, not each other, or vice versa. Alex C says, I use the death save mechanic for a lot of things too. I don't like the one roll success or fail, seems to rob the experience. You know what? That's actually a good topic to bring up as well. Like the save versus death thing, right? That's kind of gone away. I think for good reason, but having a number of roles to succeed in something kind of builds that tension as well.
I really go on.
No, please.
The way they do it in 3.5, which I really like. I know I always go on about 3.5, but it's my baby. And the way they have you bleed out based on your constitution is very interesting. And if you don't pass the rolls, then you keep bleeding down to a -10, and then you die.
See that and that makes a lot of sense. Like, hey, I got stabbed, and not only does it make sense, but it also builds that tension. Like, man, if I don't make this roll, everyone's sitting around the table, and you are like, oh man, I got to make this roll. Oh, I failed. You're like, oh man, you only got 2 more chances, or you know what I mean? Oh, you rolled a 1. Oh, that's 2 saves down. Shit, and so everyone's like sitting, like waiting for that thing to happen, which I think is a good thing to have, because you don't know what's going to happen next, and it kind of drags it out.
Matt Mercer on Critical Role does something similar. Like during an arm wrestling contest, it wasn't just like the one roll. It was, all right, you roll. All right, I got higher, so I get him down a little further. He beat me this time. We're back up, and it was a very fun and like just interesting segment.
That makes a lot of sense. You can do the same thing where it's like you're slipping into quicksand, and you've got 3 rolls to get out of the quicksand, or pulling an ally out of from a rope they fell into a raging river, and you threw a rope to them, and they've got 2 chances to climb up the rope to get to the shore. Or you could take the death mechanic, and instead of making it Constitution, it could be a charisma check. You've got 3 chances to convince the guard to let you through the gate with your weapons and your dangerous items, and you make the first roll. Great, okay, he's listening to you. You make the second roll. Okay, he's like, I don't think this is bad, and you failed the third roll. Shit, well, and he's like, I don't know, I might lose my job. What can we do? And so you could kind of stretch out the tension a little bit. Alex, Captain Gothnock, he's a writer and layout person in a Critical Hit, but we were talking one time, and he said that he once ran a game where there was some kind of creature that was poisonous, and you rolled a save versus the poison, whatnot. But what he did instead was, everyone that got bit, he extended the poison out by hours. So the saves were every hour as opposed to each round. So after the fight, there was still this lingering effect. So he said after an hour after the fight, he's like, okay, you guys have to make a con save. And he was like, the players, sorry guys. Come on, kitty. You silly kitty. Silly kitty. Oh no. Am I upside down? Sure am. Bam! Bam! There we go. Yes, kitty. Yeah. Okay. So So what he did was, an hour later, he had to make con saves from the poison, and it was just like, well, so the players' heads, they're like, well, how many times is he going to make a save? And we thought the fight was over, and oh man, we're going to have to get an antidote for the poison, and how many hours do we have to live if we fail? And so it kind of stretched out something that was technically a save or die, right? Yeah. Make a save. Oh, you made the save. Okay, whatever. You're not affected by it. Which it's a strange way to do a mechanic, but perfectly makes sense to create that tension, to stretch it out a little bit. So I like it.
Does something kind of similar where they stretch out the diseases and poisons, and it's actually gotten quite a lot of flack because nobody really seems to like it.
Really?
People keep complaining that, oh, well, now I've got negatives to everything, and that's really bad, so I might as well just not even go on an adventure until I'm cured. It's like, well, it's taking me too long to recover. I don't want to deal with that. And
yeah.
That's
a hazard too. Like, not it's the turtling effect. Like, oh, it's turtling effect, but that's where we as game masters have to add that tension level in there. Like, yeah, you're poisoned and you better run. You're poisoned, but you need to get the hell out of there, kind of thing.
Or even just making an adventure out of getting cured. It might be a journey to the healer that you've never been there before, and this might be stuff you don't know. Your race may have never gotten, like if you're a dwarf, you may have never gotten poisoned with this. Dwarves don't know how they react to the stuff that cures it.
Yeah. And just get back in the chat a little bit. Scott Poe says a 100% mechanic based on a 5-man team. All make a skill check, need to add to 100, give them a bonus of 2 or 4 for a solid idea or 2, and succeed or fail together, but worst roll suffers the effect. So I can see like getting up to it, like making rolls to add up to a number, like add up to 100, or 50. You could just pick a number randomly. Like, okay, you guys, even with like 5th edition, you've got a D20 system. You have to make rolls to equal 100. So if you rolled 5 20s in a row, as an example, right? No bonuses or anything. You roll 5 20s in a row, you did it because you got 100. But you could have this like not weird, but you could have this contest where like the arm wrestling thing. Okay, now they're a little bit ahead of you. Now you're ahead of them. You have 67, they have an 83. Then you keep role playing. Okay, now this other thing happens, and you roll again. You start adding it. So I could see doing that as a system. Mike Gould says I run those things as contests. Contests are real easy. Just do a roll off. Who high roll wins. Drop to 0. We've all done modifications on bleeding out and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, man, I'm psyched. Now I'm kind of juved. And oh, by the way, thanks. Somebody out there I know put thanks for putting my name in Isaac Arthur's head for some reason. That was really cool. That's a really cool thing. I'm gonna have to talk to that dude some kind of way. Reach out to him. That's really cool that he reached out to me. Mike Gould says I tend to run infections like that, and failing the entire string means the parasite takes hold and grows to an adult version of that original species, a la aliens. Ooh, nasty. Yeah, chest bursting. That's not really fun. But yeah, so we hit the hour mark. Guys, hit the hour mark, so we're going to say goodbye. But before we do that, Foolish Kiwi, give us any last thoughts at all ever that you want.
I'll hit 2 things real quick. One is going back to what you said earlier about starting chases and using the environment and encounters. A great way to encourage players to do that, if they're not used to the idea, is to demonstrate that with a monster. Are they fighting a big barbarian in the woods? Have him knock a tree down with his axe and try to knock it onto him, and then they'll think, well, I could do that. It's always good to use a demonstration if they might look like they want to do that but are uncomfortable with it. And the other thing is, if anybody is playing D&D games that they want to stream or post on YouTube and they need like copyright-free kind of fantasy music, just hit me up on DPJ's Discord, and I will send you some stuff that I made so I know it's copyright-free if you like it, and you're free to use it for whatever you like.
Sweet. So do you mean like ambient music, or are you talking in general, like music to add like stingers on the beginning or end of videos, or something in the background?
I've done YouTube theme songs, like little snippets, and I do kind of background fantasy music that can be looped and be ambient. And if there's like a bigger project, I've done like boss themes and stuff where I'll go to a recording studio and play with cello and everything by hand.
Would you mind both of us doing like a live stream to talk about that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so we'll talk. That's going to be a thing. Like we'll talk about like using music and using other. Music is essentially like a prop, so we can talk about that being used as a prop, kind of.
Oh yeah, using ambient, providing that mental theater, even if it's on a grid at the moment, for your players to where they can imagine it like a movie, or if me, like I'm very geeky and I imagine everything is like an anime. But that's it's just having that background music and stuff that make it so theatrical can really provide that ambience, especially to like a chase. Suddenly the drums are bump 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 and everybody's like
Nothing gets them going better than the battle theme. Like
exactly.
Yeah, man, I've pulled themes like that out of you take a like your classic movie themes like 300 or Lord of the Rings or Gladiator or something. You get one of those and you pop that on in the background. I've used that trick so many times at the table, but I've never felt comfortable in how to use that in an online game. And I would love to be able to like toggle, have something in the background that's low, whether they're in the marketplace, and you could hear like music being played in a marketplace or something, or like they go to a desert encounter, you hear like that Persian Arabian music, flutes or something in the background, and then they go to like a Viking area and you could hear like the drums and maybe like the Celtic music or something, and just have it like low in the background. But then when the fighting starts, you get that high energy music. So I would love to do that. So I did not know that, and I always learn something new, man. That's what I meant. Yeah,
that's what we're here for.
I always say I'm a bard in real life. That's my job.
That's sweet. Yeah, hell, and dude in the chat, Scott Poe says, "Cool, damn, dude, that's serious." I meant very cool. Yeah, Mike Gould. So yeah, I think that's a definitely a good thing. Deadman the Storyteller said, "Definitely a good idea to add to a Thursday stream." Oh wait, yeah, it's already added. So we'll do that. And Azala, any last thoughts?
I don't really have any last thoughts other than I'm sorry I missed yesterday, but I'm back again and have fun.
No, you're fine. You don't owe me anything. We're just here to. I'll be here, and always welcome to hang out. Thanks, Kiwi, for even giving us that information, dude. Like I had no idea, and I want to be here as like a nexus for creativity. So if you've got, since the fact that you have something is a great idea, maybe you get some more eyes on what you do and have people check you out and things. So I know you can't put links in the chat, so we'll figure out a way to get you use the Discord or some other ways to have you people connect with you in a broader method. Joseph Keenan says there's some royalty free music sites, but you have to
sorry, my stream. Sorry, my stream is. Fix this real quick.
Sorry. Oh, he's probably getting some strangeness or weirdness or feedback. I was getting some feedback on some of the streams. At one point, it was like this fuzzy, old school like rabbit ear kind of thing that was going on. But
can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear and see you
awesome.
Perfectly.
I fixed it. I was getting a phone call. I was on my phone Wi-Fi, and it was knocking it off.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Get some little interference and stuff. And lastly, I heard I think we've been hearing that they're going to get rid of G Plus, right? Google Plus, but I don't believe they're getting rid of Hangouts. But Hangouts links to your Google Plus account, so I don't know how Hangouts is going to like. Will we all have to relink into it, or will they just link it to like say a Gmail accounts or something like that? I don't know. But from what I understand, Hangouts is not going away, but G Plus is.
I don't know. I've never really used either of them. So
it probably will link back to your Gmail just like YouTube. But if it doesn't, there is a way that you can't do it in just normal voice chat, but in Discord, in private calls, you can add people to a group and then turn on webcam and use it that way.
Yeah. I don't know. I hope it's not that I think Hangouts is better, but sometimes it's a matter of like juggling like what's easier to go onto. Like for example, Zoom is sweet. Zoom is, but you have to pay for it, right?
Right.
So you kind of get what you pay for. You pay for a more expensive car, it's going to run better. So Scott posted, I think it was all through your Gmail. I'm not certain how that links together with the Hangouts and the G Plus and the Gmail and all that kind of business. So hopefully Hangouts will still hang around, because I find it easier to just like click it and go into it. I'm still messing with things. I know Discord has audio and video. I haven't heard of anyone using games through Discord and then learning how to like go through Discord or Twitch or Zoom, and then dumping that into a YouTube account. Still learning all that stuff. So
yeah, but the Google Hangout is really intuitive. This is my first time ever using it, and aside from having to download Chrome, it was easy.
Okay. Yeah, I know we're all, it's the Wild West. Everyone uses different, is comfortable using, whether it's Skype or Zoom or, Twitch or any of these things to do video and audio and link with people and stuff. Hell, Roll20, Fantasy Grounds and those kind of things. So yeah, it's
my fault. I'm a rebel without a cause and use Mozilla.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Oh, wow. See? Yeah, but if you're used to it and it's good for you, well,
that's what I'm used to. I like the morals of the company. They make me happy in my heart.
I just use Discord. Everything Discord.
Discord. Okay. So yeah, I'll have to figure that out. Scott Post says, "Are you trying to figure out the best system to run a streaming game for this group?" Nah, we're that. Hell, dude, that's a whole week of that, man. Damn,
Yeah.
You'd have to. You could come up with what's best for sound, what's best for for audio, what's best for video, what's best for you, what's best for maps, what's best for. You could overlays. You could go down a rabbit hole with that one. It's
My boyfriend uses Opera. I can't stand it.
Oh no, Opera is. Ooh.
I haven't heard of Opera.
It's a mobile web browser, and it's just it's like trying to make a baked potato in the microwave. Yeah, it gets it done, but it's not great.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, I never heard of Opera.
Good.
Hopefully less people do over time.
It's something for everyone. So, all right, I'm going to take us out, guys. I got to get to work. I got to get ready. But as always, thanks for joining me. We're extreme moderates. We rant, but we don't rant that hard. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's a little too early for us to really get the anger going. But whatever, it's just us hanging out, doing our thing. We'll get back to our normal Monster Mondays and all that kind of stuff next week. I'll definitely have a Foolish Kiwi on here talking about what he does, and others. If you guys have something you're working on, projects that are coming along, skills that you want to have out there, let me know. If you feel like it's something that other people would be interested in, let me DM as part of the the faculty over at Fantasy Grounds for Fantasy Grounds College. That's one thing. So, guys, just let me know that. And as always, everyone have a very pleasant day. I'll see you tomorrow. All right. And we are taking